Hey Mark, ready for another dive into the tech world?
Oh, you know it, Jenny. I've been itching to talk about this one. It's a new feature from Google called Ask for Me, and it's pretty wild.
Okay, ask for me. That sounds intriguing. Does it involve, asking Google for stuff?
Kind of, but way cooler. It's like having your own AI assistant to make phone calls for you.
Wait, so it actually calls people? Or businesses?
Exactly. Businesses, for now. Let's say you need to find out how much an oil change is, or if a nail salon has an opening tomorrow.
Right, the kind of calls I always put off.
Me too. So instead of you making the call, Ask for Me does it. You just tell Google what you're looking for, and the AI takes over.
Okay, hold on. So this AI is just cold calling businesses? How does that even work?
That's the cool part. It uses Google's duplex technology. Remember they showed that off a while back, making restaurant reservations?
Oh yeah, the one that sounded eerily human?
That's the one. So it's using that same tech to have a natural-sounding conversation with the business, get the info, and then relay it back to you.
So no more awkward hold music? That's tempting. But how long does all this take?
Get this. They say it takes about 30 minutes or less to get the info back to you, usually by text or email.
30 minutes. Not instantaneous, but definitely faster than me trying to do it myself, especially if I need to check a few places.
Right? And think about it. You're not stuck on the phone. You can be doing other things while it works in the background.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal. But what if a business doesn't want to talk to a robot?
That's actually been thought out. Businesses can opt out of receiving these calls. They can do it through their Google Business Profile settings.
That makes sense. Gives them some control, and I guess it avoids a flood of AI calls, too?
Oh man, this is the cool part. They have these call quotas in place too. So a business won't get bombarded with AI requests.
Okay, that's smart. So how do they make sure these AI calls aren't, creepy or deceptive?
Here's the thing about that. They're pretty upfront about it. At the start of every call, the AI clearly states that it's an automated system calling on behalf of a user.
Good. Transparency is important. I wouldn't want a business to feel tricked.
I was just reading about this, and Rose Yao, a product leader at Google, she said this could be big, not just for users, but for businesses too. She called it a gold mine.
A gold mine? How so?
Well, think about all the data they can gather. And for businesses, it could streamline inquiries. There is a case study in here about a company called AutoFix.
Oh yeah, what happened with them?
They used Ask for Me and saw a 30% increase in service inquiries and a 15% boost in appointment bookings.
Wow, that's significant. So it actually helped their business?
Seems like it. And it reduced their call center workload by 25%. Frees up their staff to focus on other things.
That's pretty impressive. But, it makes me wonder about the bigger picture. What about people who work in call centers?
Yeah, that's a valid concern. I was reading an expert's take on this, a Dr. Oren Etzioni. He talked about the potential impact on jobs.
What did he say?
He said this kind of tech could change things for customer service roles. It might mean fewer jobs in some areas, but maybe new jobs in others, like managing these AI systems.
Right, it's always a trade-off with new tech, isn't it? We gain efficiency, but we have to think about the social impact.
And another expert, Timnit Gebru, she brought up privacy concerns, which is important too.
What are they saying about that? What kind of data is being collected?
Well, that's where it gets a bit tricky. They don't go into a lot of detail about exactly what's collected. But she says we need to be critical and consider things like data privacy and potential bias.
Yeah. Who's listening to these calls? How is that information being used?
Exactly. Google says they're committed to user privacy, but it's something to keep an eye on.
It's like that saying, with great power comes great responsibility, right?
So basically what's happening is, it is still early days. It's only available in the US right now, and only for auto shops and nail salons.
Nail salons, huh? I can see that being useful. But only 2 types of businesses?
Yeah, it's part of something called Search Labs, which is like their testing ground for new features.
So they're starting small and seeing how it goes?
Right. But I bet they'll expand it if it's successful. Can you imagine using this for, doctor's appointments or finding a plumber?
Oh, that would be amazing. Especially for those things that require a lot of back and forth calling.
It's kind of like, when you had to call all those different vets to get prices for your dog's surgery?
Ugh, don't remind me. That took forever.
This could have done all that for you, and you would have gotten a nice little summary of prices and availability.
Okay, Google, you have my attention. But what if I, or other users for that matter, still prefer talking to a human?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. Some people will always prefer that human touch. especially for more complicated or sensitive issues.
Right. Like, if you're dealing with a serious medical issue, you probably want to talk to a real person.
There was another case study in here, Nail Pro Salon. They saw a 40% reduction in missed appointments using Ask for Me.
Wow, so people were getting more accurate info and actually showing up?
Yeah, and they got a 20% increase in new customer acquisitions. Plus, their staff was happier because they weren't constantly answering the phone for basic questions.
That's a good point. It could free up staff to focus on the customers who are actually there.
I think what it comes down to is finding the right balance. Using AI for the routine stuff and humans for the more complex interactions.
Speaking of routine, how is this different than the chatbots we see everywhere now?
Here's the thing about chatbots. They are usually text-based, right? This is voice-based, which can feel more natural for some people, and it can handle more complex language.
That's true. Plus, Ask for Me is integrated with Google Search, so it has access to all that business information.
Oh man, this is the cool part. It is a huge advantage. It can pull info from Google Maps, business listings, all of that.
So it's more efficient than a standalone chatbot?
Seems like it. And it's connected to your Google account, so it knows your preferences, your location, all of that.
Which, again, brings us back to the privacy thing.
Right. It's always a trade-off. Convenience versus privacy. We, as users, have to decide what we're comfortable with.
It will be interesting to see how this develops. I can see it being really useful, but they need to be transparent about the data and give people control.
Totally. I'm excited to see where they take it. They're talking about integrating it with smart home devices, too.
Oh, so you could just ask your Google Home to find you a plumber?
Exactly. The future is here, Jenny. Or at least, it's getting there.
Well, Mark, as always, you've given me a lot to think about. I'm cautiously optimistic about this one.
Me too. It's a fascinating development. We'll definitely have to revisit this topic as it evolves.
Sounds like a plan. All right, everyone, that's all for this episode. Thanks for tuning in.
Catch you next time, in the next episode, where we'll keep exploring the wild world of tech.